Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Hypnotherapy it's a game changer. It can change your life and make it so much better for pretty much everything that you're dealing with, whether it is anxiety, if you've got stress, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to stop smoking, if you want to forgive someone. I did hypnotherapy for that. It's fantastic, but many times people have an aversion to it because they're not really sure how it works, what it is. So we're going to break down all those myths today and get right to the core of how it's going to help you deal with what's going on in your life. And she does that for people all the time, all over the world. Yeah, you can find her virtually. It is Deborah Nettles on our program today. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. And I love what we're going to do today. We're in a role play where I am somebody who heard about hypnotherapy from some guy named Steve. I was watching a podcast, and I'm going to ask those questions that people, I think, normally ask or maybe wonder about. And are you good with that? You want to start there?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Okay. We just started our virtual consult, right? And so, Deborah, I heard that hypnotherapy can help me with what I'm dealing with, but I'm afraid of the mind control thing. I don't like giving up control. Are you going to be able to put things in my head and control me?
So is it that you wanted to quack like a duck every time the phone rang? Is that what you wanted?
That's what I'm afraid of, because I've seen that, on TV, sitcoms, comedies, and all of that, where somebody's waving a pocket watch, and then all of a sudden, people start doing that. Is that real?
It is real. I've actually done comedy stage shows before, and they're a lot of fun. But understand, people that go to the comedy stage shows, and by the way, when I open up the stage full of chairs for people to come and join, I don't pick people. I let the audience come up. It's first come, first serve, and those chairs are full in seconds. Okay? So they want to have fun, and hypnosis is fun. And when I do those shows, I do them. You can go to Vegas and see some pretty raunchy shows. I'm not going to lie, but I want people to feel good about what they're doing. So that's what we do. We have a good time. And yes, they do get into it. Now, does every single person respond? No, I'm not going to say everyone does. And in fact, if I'm doing a stage show, just because we started on that little trek there, and I have somebody who is not where they should be, then I just kindly ask them to return to the audience and they can enjoy the show from their seat there. And I will continue on with the participants that are where I want them to be. Now, but you're right. No, there is no mind control. They are suggestible because they want to have fun, and that's what they're expecting. All right. If I were to send them all out to rob a bank and bring me back all the loot, they will not do it. Okay. So that brings up a great question about mind control let's talk about smoking for just a second, because there are still a number of people. I think the last statistic I read was 17% still smoke. Okay. It's drastically down from where it was 30 years ago, but still that's a large number of people of the population that still smoke. And I really believe that few really want to, but they feel stuck. I have had, and I've helped thousands quit, okay? So I've interviewed enough people that I can confidently say I have had some people come and visit me because their doctors have sent them and they really don't want to quit, okay? And I kindly let them know that if you don't want to, that this is not going to work for you, because I can't make you. Can't you make me want to quit? They will ask. And I'll say, no, no, I cannot make you do anything you do not want to do. However, if you do want to quit smoking and you're struggling to do so, hypnosis is a great, great tool to use to do so.
Okay. So that being said, I need to want to make the change in my life, or it's not going to work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you do. You needed to want to forgive that person in order to go through and be successful in forgiving them.
Right. I have to want to stop smoking. I have to want to lose weight. I can't deal with the anxiety anymore. So
Right.
I'm looking for that change. Okay. How does it actually work? Like if I'm hypnotized, will I be able to, let's say, if I feel a little wonky, weird, can I stop at any time?
Yes, you could. You could pull yourself out of a trance state. So, Steve, you've been hypnotized before, but I bet you've been hypnotized in ways that you never even knew you were.
Yes. Yes. And by the way,
So,
we're role playing here. I
yeah.
love hypnotherapy, but we're illustrating all the different points here. But yeah, and I will tell you, the last time I was hypnotized, are you doing something right now? No, I'm kidding. The last time I was, which wasn't that long ago before we met, I that was the first time that I didn't think I would be hypnotized
Yeah.
because it was early in the morning. It's just the way the schedules kind of got together. I had a lot on my mind. I had a lot going on. Again, it was virtual. Uh, but I got there. I actually got there. I was kind of surprised that I did actually.
So you don't even need a hypnotist to be hypnotized. You ready for this one?
Yeah. Okay, go.
Okay. So have you ever, and I love asking men this question, have you ever gotten choked up or cried over a sad movie?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, we're human, right? We all do, right? But even though you know it's not real, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me push the envelope just a little bit further. What about one of those animated films from Disney or Pixar? Ever get emotional over one of those?
Maybe back in the day when my kids were younger and I thought of them, I thought of me, I thought of me as a kid, maybe that kind of thing. Yeah, my God, Terry, sure.
Sure. So logically, our mind would say, well, that's just silly to cry over a cartoon or really anything that's not real. But this has nothing to do with logic. All right. So what's happening is you are focused. We'll use a TV for an example. You're focused on the TV. Hypnosis has everything to do with focus. All right. So as you're focused on that TV, you relax and slip into a trance. Are you still aware of if a dog walks across the floor in front of you? Of course. All right. But you're focused on that TV. Now the plot begins to unfold. The characters are developed. You start to care about them as if they're friends or family. Then when the tragedy hits, you may gasp or feel tension in your chest, eyes well up, and you cry. These are physical responses to suggestion. The suggestions are wrapped up in the plot. So you are responding exactly the way that the writers want you to respond. And that is a very simplistic way of how hypnosis works.
Hmm. Is it safe to say, like you said, once you get into the show and you're aware of things around, but you're into the show, have you sort of zoned out? When we say, yeah, I just kind of zoned out for a second there, is that maybe a hypnotic state?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That trance state. So a lot of people are like, whoa, is hypnosis like meditation? And the answer is yes and no. So they are both similar in the fact that they use that meditative state. And so that's the same in that vein, but then that's where they end. After that, meditation is great. It's healthy. It's good to clear your mind, to look for inspiration. Hypnosis takes it a step further, and it's like you're rewiring your mind. So you're accepting suggestions to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Okay.
Hmm.
So very similar, yet very different once you got into that state. But a lot of people experience that state on a regular basis. Ever go hang out in the summertime and have a couple beers with your friends at a bonfire? And then maybe notice that after a while, people stop talking. They're all staring at that fire.
Mm. Hmm.
Not necessarily that they're all drunk. It might just be too much of an effort to carry on a conversation because they're in that state.
It's a cool feeling actually. As soon as you said it, I got the visual in my mind of staring at the fire. And I just you don't even know you're doing it. It's like, this is cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's very relaxing. So yes, we all do it. We don't even realize we do it, but in that state, when you're so focused on watching the fire, for example, when you're so focused in that state, then that internal chatter is less likely to argue with the ideas and suggestions that come your way.
Hmm. What am I going to experience or see when you hypnotize me?
What do you want to see?
I guess it depends on what you're working on
Right.
and what your
So
goal is.
often I use a lot of imagery, but not all of my clients are visual. Some of my clients are very kinesthetic and they feel things. Some just need to hear things, but I do use a lot of imagery. I like to take people on a little bit of a journey, and this distracts the mind while you're getting into that state.
Hmm.
Okay. And once you're in that state, I do a couple little tests and stuff to make sure people know that they're in that state, as well as I know they're in that state so I can proceed with the suggestions. And once they're in that state, they're relaxed, they're comfortable, they're enjoying what they're doing. And sometimes it's interactive. Sometimes I'm asking them questions or I'm asking them to do things. And and that's all cool and fun too. Sometimes they're just listening and focusing on what I'm saying.
Okay, deep question alert. Here it comes. Do you need to know what you want to work on? Let's just say lately I just been in a funk. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Could that person be hypnotized so that you figure out what the situation is? Part two of the question is, let's say you know what you need to identify. Let's say it's anxiety. Got a lot of anxiety. I don't know what's going on. You'll take it from there. Like,
Yeah.
let's say the anxiety comes from your childhood. You'll take that
Yep.
person back there. So
So
there's your
there's several different techniques that can be used to bring that out. Okay. They may not know, you're right. And I can take them visually on a journey until they can find out. I mean, I can lead them through different situations that will bring about, hey, this is what's really bothering me, and it will surface. Other times I do a little chat with people if they know what's bothering them from their childhood, and get as much information as that as I can so that I can build those suggestions to relieve those things around that.
hmm,
I mostly, if I'm working one-on-one with people, and I say that because I do a lot of group work and it's a lot of fun. Okay.
hmm.
So my group programs are stop smoking, lose weight, and release stress. Okay. Anything other than that, it's one-on-one. Like anxiety, I always do one-on-one with that. And a lot of that, I am a certified professional energy coach too.
Yeah.
And I work with that as well as I use the hypnosis in conjunction to bring about the change that they need. So
Hmm.
if they know, great. If they don't, we can uncover it.
And by the way, I think that's fantastic that you work with energy because in my journey, uh, learned a lot about it. It's pretty much everything.
It is.
So, having those both modalities definitely helps you get the job done. So, I've heard many times that a lot of what we're dealing with goes back to our childhood. What percentage would you put on it? Again, this is just broad, but
Mhm.
for the stuff that we're dealing with, say like 0 to 7 or maybe 7 to 14. I've heard there's two separate cells there, that those things that went on could have been just a passing comment when you're 2 years old and you internalized it.
Could be.
What do you think, in your experience, in terms of a percentage of how many of us what we're dealing with now came from our childhood?
You know, I'm not going to put a large percentage on that. I'm going to
Hmm.
say, sure, there could be, but there are two schools of approaches. One is regress people back to the initial event in their childhood and figure out what's going on, bring them through that so they understand. Maybe you try and reframe what is happening for them in that state and then bring them forward. The other school is take them where they're at now and see where they want to be. Sometimes it's not necessary to go backwards. Sometimes it's just understanding, where are you right now and where is it that you're trying to go? That's the approach I start with.
Hmm.
And if that approach doesn't get them where they want to go, then I'll go back. Sometimes going back is painful. And my goal is to have fun. I want my people to have fun. However, sometimes they do have to go through the pain in order to overcome it and then have fun. So I start with, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And Only when that doesn't work do I investigate. Well, let's go backwards and find those things. And God, there are as many techniques out there as I swear there are grains of sand on the beach. Okay, there's so many. So pick your choice. I have a huge handful that I visit regularly.
Interesting. There are people that can't be hypnotized, I would assume, based on what you said before. Let's say, if you're not visual, there's ways to get the job done. But
Yeah.
let's say somebody wants to change their life, heal, stop smoking, whatever it might be. So they have the desire. Are some of those people, maybe a small percentage, not able to be hypnotized?
So there are only a few people that I ran into who cannot be hypnotized. Okay, so if you're intoxicated or on recreational drugs, you're not able to focus well enough to experience hypnosis. Remember, it has everything to do with focus. All right. When I had my office open before I went completely virtual, I only had, I think, a total of 2 people. I used to see 50 people a week. I only had maybe 2 in that entire time who shouldn't have been driving to come to my office. Okay, so that's a very, very small amount. Most people understand, all right, I can't be drunk. If I'm doing a stage show, that's the first thing I want to let people know. Hey, if you're up at the bar throwing them back, this is not a good time to come up here. Okay.
Yep.
The other is if someone has an IQ below 70, and I've only met one young man, his mother brought him in. He had an IQ that was really low because of a car accident brain injury. All right. I would not have been able to work with. Okay. It doesn't have to do with age or maturity. It had to do with his ability to focus. Okay. Those are the 2 categories that really are like, nope, they're not going to be able to focus to do this. Now, the other situations that you run into of, let's say, quote, normal, because normal is very subjective, right? So let's just say normal people would be one, if they do not trust their hypnotist. Okay. If they get a bad vibe, and they don't trust the person, then they're not going to be able to relax and focus. They're going to always have this worry or whatever. Okay. I've had too many people come in and tell me about experiences where I can't be hypnotized because XYZ, and they've done actually very well. All right. So that would be a situation. The other one is if they really don't want to change, like they think they do, but they're like, no, they're getting something more out of it. Say pain management. And if they get off their pain or they get out of their pain, they may have to go back to work. Or maybe nobody's going to help them anymore. So they're getting something, a secondary gain out of having that thing, even though logically they can say, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be free of it. They might still find that there's something inside refusing to let it go.
Even the victim, my leg's killing me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Another day of pain, blah, blah, blah. A lot of us do play the victim role.
Yeah.
Okay. Deborah, as your prospective client, I have another question.
Sure.
Can it go wrong? Can something be suggested that doesn't support me or anybody? Can things go wrong with hypnotherapy?
I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say that because if I made some suggestions that were nonsense, very nonsensical to your mind, you might pop yourself out of the trance with what was that? Or maybe laugh it off because it didn't make sense to you, or you would ignore it altogether. If I'm talking about your black dog and your dog is white, it's not going to make a difference.
Gotcha. Yeah. Or if you say that, I have whatever the issue is, but I really don't have that issue. It's not even a resonate because it's not me. I'm not dealing with that.
Right. So when I do my groups for, like, say, smoking, I try to throw in there vaping and dipping as well, because it's all the same program. I do the same thing for all of them. And if I know particularly that there's somebody in the group that is not smoking cigarettes, but only vaping, I'll throw vaping in there once in a while. But even though I mentioned cigarettes, it doesn't matter. They still get the benefits and it still works for them. It's not going to throw them off because I'm talking about something
smoking and not vaping.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Huh. Wow. You're answering all my questions here. How long does it take?
Oh, it doesn't take very long at all. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're talking about just the hypnosis trance itself from beginning to end, that can take anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on exactly what you're throwing in. So when I do a session, I can't tend to keep them under an hour, especially if I'm doing individuals, I stack them on top of each other, right? So I know I'm not going to let my session go over that. But the beginning of the session, if it's a first time, I'm going through all of this stuff. I'm going through talking about what they can expect, so that when they experience it, like when I say there are going to be times when your eyes will feel like they're too stuck to open. Then when they experience it, they're like, oh, yeah, she said that was going to happen. And here it is, right? So I go through that stuff. So that takes probably the prep work before we even start can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. It depends on what questions people have. And then we jump right in, and then usually half hour or so of the program for my common programs. And then because I do all my stuff live. And then at the end it's Q&A. What questions do people have? And I go through, what did you experience? Did you notice how your arm was stuck up in the air and you couldn't move it? Was that cool? And all of those things that they experience, it reminds them, well, yeah, I was there. I did experience that.
Do you provide some kind of audio after the session? Yeah.
For my programs, I do. Yes.
Programs,
Like my
one-on-ones or the group?
The groups.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it depends on what the one-on-ones are if they need that. But usually I do give them something to listen to at home to reinforce the good things.
Would it be beneficial if somebody recorded the session and listened to it again? Would they get the same benefits over again?
I'm going to say it could, but not necessarily.
Okay.
So it depends on what we're working on. If we're working on something that, for example, let's say I take you someplace where you're searching your mind for all of the things that are causing you depression, for example, and we're getting rid of those. Okay. We're burning them up. We're forgiving whatever people did to us or whatever. We're letting those go. I don't necessarily want people to go back through and revisit those things we got rid of. There's no
Okay. Fair
need.
enough. Yeah, they're gone. They're gone.
Right.
Why bring them
So
back?
when I bring people through my smoking stuff, once they've gone through, my smoking course is a 2-session course. Once they've gone through that first one, the second one really depends on how well they did. So I have 2 separate ones. Either you're completely done, which most people are, or you're still smoking a little bit. And if you are, then I have a different course for you for that, right? So it's one, like it's 6 o'clock if you're done, 6:30 if you're not, and I approach it differently. But I don't need them to go back and listen to that first one necessarily over and over and over again.
So I heard somebody got hypnotized.
Mhm.
Don't even need to talk about what it was for, but they were provided with audio and were told to listen to it every day for 21 days. Does that sound reasonable or no?
I've heard those things too. I tell people, listen to it as long as you want to. So I give people recordings to either relax, clear their head, so they stay calm. They don't want to tear somebody's head off if they're trying to quit smoking, for example. Or I have a confidence one called "You've Got This." It's your own personal cheerleader for so those times when you're like, oh, I just don't know if I could do this today. That's a good time to listen to that. And then if somebody's really struggling, I do have a smoking cessation one that I created for those times that they're stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you have to listen to it for 21 days? Probably not. Of course, we do know that it takes 21 days to 30 days to create a habit or to change a habit. So there is that.
So it can't hurt
It can't hurt, no.
unless you're going back over something that you let go, like you said before. We're already
Yeah,
done with that. Why do we want to revisit that and keep bringing it up and just
right.
we're just about out of time. So how do I book my first session?
You go to virtualhypnosisservices.com, and on that page and I probably need to add some more because we had some courses start this week, but we frequently throughout the month are adding new classes so that people check back as many times as you want, find the course that you want, and then there's my calendar on there. So if there's something you have questions about, or you want to talk about something that isn't one of those group programs, you can go ahead and book a free inquiry with me, and we'll go through either on Zoom or on phone and answer your questions and see if I can help them.
Wow, you make it fun.
I want it to be fun. It
Yeah.
should be fun. Life should be fun, Steve.
I'm serious. You make it fun, where a lot of people, myself included, had an aversion to hypnotherapy because it was, woo-woo, but a little scary because it's the unknown. But you make it fun. And yes, it is fun to know you can stop smoking. It is fun to know you don't deal with that anxiety anymore. Fantastic talking with you today, Deborah.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, learned a lot. And, again, I've been through hypnotherapy, not Deborah's hypnotherapy, though. So I think
Didn't have as much fun?
No. I mean, it was okay. Granted, when you go back, I did to my childhood, the very first time I ever had it, and they were all virtual, by the way. I said, take me back to my childhood. And not that it was bad or anything like that, but I know I've already connected the dots. So I told the practitioner, we're going to go back here and we're going to figure this all out. It can get emotional. So, you got to be prepared for that. It can, but it was all good. It was like watching a 7-year-old myself on TV. I'm watching, the Steve show.
Yeah.
But it works. This stuff does work. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Looking forward to catching up again and learning some more. And maybe you can even show us a couple of techniques, how you put somebody into that state.
Yeah, that'd be fun, huh?
Yeah, as long as you're not driving. That's the only thing. Disclaimer. All right, we'll talk next time. Thanks again.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.